You may be seated. They said that one who has achieved success has lived well, laughed often and loved much, has gained the respect of intelligent people and the love of little children, has filled his niche and accomplished his task, who left the world better than when he found it, whether through an improved copy, a perfect poem, or a rescued soul, who has never lacked appreciation of earth's beauty or failed to express it, who has always looked for the best in others and given the best that he had, whose life was an inspiration and whose memory a benediction. This was certainly true for Stephen Cohen, as all of you who sit here know, and those who are joining us via the live stream as well. Stephen's soul was pure. He was pure love, pure kindness, and he taught us to be a little bit more kind, a little bit more caring of those around us. We're often at a loss for words at a time like this, and so we turn to the book of Psalms. I'll read first from Psalm 15. Mizmor leDavid Adonai mi yagor be'olecha mi yishkon b'har kodeshecha. Olech tamim u'fo'el tzedek v'dover emet b'lvavo. Lo ragal al leshono, lo asa l'reihu ra'a v'chirpa, lo nasa al krovo. It's a psalm of David, who deserves to enter into God's holy sanctuary, who can merit a place in the presence of God. One who lives their life with integrity, who does what is right, who speaks the truth without deceit, who has no slander upon his tongue and does no evil to others. One who would not mistreat a neighbor nor spurn a contemptible person, but honors those who revere God. Who never retract a promise once made, that even if it were to bring harm, who lends no money at unfair rates and accepts no bribe against the innocent. One who makes these deeds their own shall stand with you, God, firm forever. And I'll ask the cantor to lead us in the singing of Psalm 23.
Mizmor leDavid. Adonai roi lo echzar, binodeshe yarbitzeni, al me menuchot yenahaleni, nafshi yishover, yancheni v'magle tzedek, למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צלמוות, לא יירא רע, כי אתה עמדי. שבטך ומשענתך ينخموني تعرخ لفناي شولخان نجد تصرراي دي شانتا وشمن روشي كسير وهيا أخ טוב החסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
A psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. God maketh me to lie down in green pastures and leads me beside the still waters. God restoreth my soul and guides me in straight paths for God's name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou prepare a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. There's a poem written by my colleague Jack Reamer with Sylvia Kamen that speaks of the ways and the times in which we remember those who are lost to us. At the rising of the sun and at its going down, we remember them. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. At the blueness of the skies and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. At the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. For as long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. When we are weary and need strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joy we crave to share, we remember them. And when we have decisions that are difficult to make, we remember them. When we have achievements that are based on theirs, we remember them. For as long as we live, they too will live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. In order to help us and to guide us, to share with us some of those memories, I'm going to invite those who knew Stephen for his entire life, his family, to come and share some words of their own. Michael.
I first want to thank everybody for coming again, all my friends and family. Public speaking is not comfortable for me, but I stand here because I believe speaking about my son, Stephen, is something Stephen would want me to do. As you know, despite having many medical issues, Stephen embraced life. I believe that is why he was able to live to age 36. He had a beautiful smile, exuberant laugh, and touched many people with his magnetic personality. Stephen knew people. He had a sense of self and recognized and remembered places. This is why we chose to have his service in this synagogue, which we often attended as a family and he loved. On special occasions, Stephen was chosen to carry the Torah, which was placed standing upright in his lap, while I balanced it and pushed his wheelchair to the bima. Stephen glowed from the attention. He was a very familiar face. He was always greeted with a warm welcome. In the general community, his outgoing personality drew similar results. In his younger days, he would frequently reach out to strangers with hand and vocal gestures. Sometimes this would almost get him in trouble. I won't go into all the stories here. He was a pure soul, only wishing to show us what he could do. In his own special way, he touched many and created change for the good, which will live on. His warm presence introduced many people to notice those with special needs in the world. Stephen and I had a special bond. He changed the course of my life. His first smile and laugh proved this to me. This was the miracle that I had prayed for when I believed there was little else to hope for. We both loved music, and that inspired me to further my love of music. I took up the violin in my late 30s after 20 years of not playing. He also loved to push over the music stand. I played for Stephen every night after dinner until his mother reminded us that it was time for Stephen to go to bed. I first thought playing the violin was just a diversion to keep Stephen entertained until we visited the Academy of Music in Philadelphia, where we were generously invited in for a dress rehearsal. At just 5 years old, Stephen focused his undivided attention on a world-renowned violin soloist practicing for her upcoming performance. Soon after that, I decided music wasn't so frivolous after all. I resumed my formal study. Eventually, this led me to helping start our synagogue klezmer band, Eine Kleine Tikva, and to play in the NIH Community Orchestra, some quartets, and various other groups. We took Stephen to many concerts, including professional concerts, and because of his special needs, he was frequently given front row seats, which we sincerely appreciated. We also went on many long walks together. Around our block, the motion kept Stephen happy and the weight off me. However, eventually I did have to get back to mow the lawn. He always enjoyed the beauty of the numerous local accessible parks, especially Brookside Gardens. Stephen enjoyed flirting. He enjoyed all kinds of motion, cars, amusement parks, park rides, boats, and the one plane ride of his life with his mother on a single-engine prop plane. Stephen always knew where he was going, and for that reason, I called him my co-pilot. We included Stephen in many family gatherings. Many people helped us in his journey through life, and we appreciate all of them. We did our best we could for Stephen. His spirit is a blessed memory, which will always be with us. Thank you for coming to remember and celebrate his life.
And now from Karen.
Remembering Stephen, an unimaginable life for such an exceptional child. That is how I described our son, Stephen. In the first week after his birth, Stephen contracted viral encephalitis. That changed the course of his life. Hopes and dreams were dashed, and in its place, we learned a whole new language and outlook on life. Years of therapy, medical appointments, and hospitalizations followed. But through it all, Stephen fought back and charmed everyone with his beautiful smile. His sweet disposition enabled him to experience many family activities, including weddings, bar and bat mitzvahs, holiday meals and parties, and family vacations to the beach. He thrived being around people. Over time, he learned to enjoy traveling by car. We gave him the nickname, as Mike said, co-pilot, because he was forever scanning the changing landscape around him. He went on merry-go-rounds, trains, buses, subway, boats, and as he mentioned, an unforgettable 4-passenger prop plane. He loved the sensation of going up and down. An elevator ride would always elicit a big smile from him. His ultimate high was riding to the top of the World Trade Center in New York. Going on walks with Stephen was one of his favorite family outings. We walked so much that his wheelchair tires wore out. Rachel and Emily always enjoyed those outings with their brother. We all appreciated the meditative qualities a walk in nature provides. Stephen was the inspiration for Mike to resume playing the violin. Stephen liked attending countless concerts wherever his dad performed. He even went to Strathmore, the Kennedy Center, and Constitution Hall. He loved music, and he constantly showed his enthusiasm with a smile on his face. Over the years, he had special caregivers, including, but not only limited, to Kabi and Dan LaHood, Martha Jimenez, Keisha Johnson, Florence Colunga, Delmar Castillo, Teresa Akoto, Yvette Brashear, Emerita Ugay, Kareem Fofana, Georges Dejaji, and Fred Grosskurt. It takes a village to raise a person. His group home housemates, David and Gail, always looked out for him, as did his roommate Curtis at the nursing home. Stephen passed away on the 11th of March, which coincides with the Hebrew date that my mother died. It was the 11th yahrzeit observed for my mother. My sister's birthday is March 11th. I am not sure what this means, but perhaps it's Bashir. It was fate, it was destiny. Through it all, we gave Stephen all the love and attention he deserved. In return, he taught us humility, patience, compassion, and the importance of being in the present. Our lives are forever changed. He reminds us of what we all want: to be accepted, to be loved, and to thrive in whatever we are able to accomplish. We will cherish his memory.
And now from Rachel.
Friends often ask me, if Stephen didn't talk, how did you know what he wanted? Well, when he was younger, he did have a few words. He would say, hi, 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 and dada. He would shake his hand like this for yes, and which is sign language for yes, and shake his head for no. He reached for many things he liked, including holding hands with people he cared for. And he looked away or made faces at things he didn't like. Stephen noticed immediately whoever walked into the room and would be enthusiastically friendly toward anyone who took an interest in him. He even laughed if he caught them making a tiny fumble or fart, which usually surprised people. Stephen was rarely not in a good mood, unless something was seriously bothering him. He was blessed with an amazingly good disposition. He would have giggle parties by himself in the middle of the night and woke up happy in the morning before we went in to see him. He was easy to please. Over the past year, since I moved back to the Bay Area, to the area, I visited him every weekend at the nursing home in Ballinger Creek. We had spa treatment for my mom, dad, and I, where I got to cut his hair, that I liked a lot, followed by concerts from the three of us. Stephen's Hebrew name is Shlomo Chaim, and Chaim means life. Stephen lived to 36. In Jewish numerology, this is twice the number of Chai, which is the lucky number for life. So he had double Chai. Stephen loved being out in the world and being part of the community, going to school, going to his day program, outings with his group home. Stephen knew that life is about being with people you love. Thank you all for being here with us. I will just miss my little brother, always. Thank you.
And last and certainly not least, from Emily.
We all experienced Stephen's zest for life. And maybe that zest was happenstance, or maybe it was destiny. As my sister mentioned, Stephen's Hebrew name is Shlomo Chaim. Shlomo means peaceable or wise, and Chaim means life. My mom always said that Stephen was like a cat with 9 lives. He kept coming back from tough challenges. Stephen had a joie de vivre like no other person I've ever met. He lived in the moment, loved his family, going to school and to his day program, and the simple pleasure of a dip in the pool, a walk in the park, and ice cream. Though generally very easygoing, he was particular about a few things. He wanted to be where the action was. He liked his routines, and he liked harmony. When we were younger and our parents would go out for the evening, Stephen loved hanging out with Rachel and me. He would be really sad as our parents walked out the door, but as soon as their car pulled out of the driveway, a switch flipped for him, and it was party time. He easily caught a case of the giggles, sometimes laughing so hard that milk would come out of his nose. Other times, though, he would just put up with us, probably because we smothered him with so much affection. We had a lot of nicknames for Stephen: Steve the Heeb, Mr. Magoocher Man, the Muscle Man, Stevie Weeby, Steve Areno, Fred, and many more. He was the baby of the family, and we all doted on him. Yesterday, Rabbi Israel asked us how Stephen shaped our lives, and this, in many ways, is a tough question for me to answer. I was 4 years old when Stephen was born, so just accepted him for who he was. But nonetheless, Stephen shaped me, our family, and many people in profound ways. He was a pure and beautiful soul, and I feel really lucky to have been his sister. We will remember him always.
It's hard to follow on all of those words. I'll just share a few. There is a famous story that is told of a Yom Kippur when a father came to shul with his son who was not able to read or to speak the prayers. But he carried with him his favorite instrument, a flute, in his pocket. And as the prayers went on, the boy got a little fidgety and kept reaching for that flute, and his father, embarrassed, would urge him to shove it back into his pocket. And then, in the Ne'ilah service, as they hit the Amidah, the close of Yom Kippur, after all of the prayers were said, they were in the final silent moments. And the father, busy in his own prayers, did not notice that his son had taken out that flute and suddenly began to play. The father, embarrassed, tried to grab it from his hands, but the son insisted. The rabbi came forward, and the father was worried that they were going to be sent right out. But what the rabbi told him instead, he came up and he thanked them, because it was through the music of his flute that the rabbi knew that their prayers would all be lifted to heaven. I thought of that story in thinking about Stephen, who didn't have the words to be able to say what he might have wanted to say, but he found ways to lift up all of the people around him. On a Shabbat morning, October 12, 1985, just a few days after celebrating Simchat Torah, Stephen Cohen came into this world. Michael and Karen, having two older children, Rachel and Emily, thought they knew what to expect. But nothing in the previous 5.5 years of parenting prepared them for what would happen next. As Michael mentioned Karen mentioned over the course of the week, Stephen developed viral encephalitis, an inflammation of the brain that is especially dangerous for young children, and, as in Stephen's case, can result in long-term damage and cerebral palsy. From that moment on, their lives would never be the same. Nothing can truly prepare parents or a family for raising a child with cerebral palsy. The doctor's appointments, physical therapists, occupational therapists, and the list goes on and on. There was no treatment that Michael and Karen didn't research, wouldn't try, no lead that they didn't follow, trying to give Stephen every chance to have as much as possible of a full life as they could possibly give him. And in so many ways they succeeded. Because Stephen, as we heard, was a happy boy who loved to smile. He was kind, had a great sense of humor, loved to laugh and to make others laugh as well. He was a people person, and everyone around responded positively to them. And as Michael mentioned, he would reach out to others, quite literally sometimes, always with a desire to connect. And he would smile. Talking yesterday with the family, a song started playing in my mind. I couldn't place it exactly. I had to look it up. And I realized it was a song that was written just a few years after Stephen was born. The rock band Bad English would record a song that would hit number 1 in the charts, and it could have been an anthem written for Stephen. The song was titled, When I See Your Smile. And the chorus goes, when I see you smile, I can face the world. I know I can do anything. When I see you smile, I see a ray of light. I see it shining right through the rain. When I see you smile at me. Stephen's smile was infectious, as we've heard. I had the opportunity to witness it myself just a few weeks ago in the hospital. Stephen had been in the hospital for a few weeks and was clearly uncomfortable. Doctors were preparing to try one more procedure to allow him to better process the nutrients they were trying to give him. It couldn't have been easy. And yet throughout that visit, every few minutes, Stephen would turn, look at Michael and smile, turn to Karen and smile, and look towards me with that big smile. Over the next few weeks, as I would say his name to myself in our prayers for healing, I would close my eyes, and all I could see was that huge grin. And of course, I'm not unique in that way. That smile gave Michael and Karen hope and reason to keep fighting for him and trying to find those treatments and programs. It was a smile that would cause Rachel and Emily to play games and to tell stories or perform for him until he would start laughing, as we heard, so hard he could barely control himself. And it was that smile that drew the many caretakers who Karen mentioned, the roommates, the friends, and family, who all wanted to be with him and to look after him. The song's opening words are so poignant. Sometimes I wonder how I'd ever make it through this world without having you. I just wouldn't have a clue. Because sometimes it seems like this world's closing in on me, and there's no way of breaking free. And then I see you reach for me. Sometimes I want to give up, want to give in, I want to quit the fight. And then I see you, and everything's all right. When I see you smile, I can face the world. You know I can do anything. When I see you smile, I see a ray of light. Stephen's smile helped to connect him to so many people, and through them helped broaden the world for Karen and Michael and Rachel and Emily. We've heard mentioned the name of Cubby Lamond, a Catholic woman who ran a daycare program out of her house for children with special needs. Cubby put her whole heart and self into the program, attracting the attention of popes and Mother Teresa, among others. Stephen was one of the old-timers of the program, and the program helped provide community not only for Stephen, but for Michael and Karen as well, with the other families who were going through similar challenges. Karen mentioned the name of Delmar Castillo, who was a favorite caregiver at Stephen's group home for 3 years. Coming from Honduras, he had moved to Cuba, where he had started medical school. But when he came to the U.S., he had to start over again. And that's what found him working in the group home. When Delmar found out that Stephen was sick last week, he dropped everything and ran to the hospital, was there within 2 hours. And he shared with Michael and Karen that after leaving the group home and going to Georgetown Medical School to complete his training, he was now doing a fellowship in orthopedic surgery at Johns Hopkins Kennedy Krieger Institute, the premier institute focusing on children and adults with special needs. And Delmar told them it was Stephen who inspired him to follow his dream. And they mentioned Curtis Powell, one of Stephen's roommates, his most recent roommate at the nursing home. Curtis had some developmental issues himself and a host of medical problems, but he and Stephen looked out for one another. Once when Curtis fell, Stephen screamed out and kept screaming till the nurses came to find him. Often Curtis served as Stephen's mouthpiece, reading and understanding what Stephen needed and conveying it to the nursing home staff. Curtis, in fact, said that he would not be discharged. He did not want to leave unless he knew that there would be somebody there to take care of Stephen. We've heard about how Stephen's love of music inspired Michael taking up the violin again and joining with Dudley Schwartz of blessed memory to form Eine Kleine Tikva, which has been a musical group that has been such an important part of the Tikvat Israel community for so many years. Just one more way that Stephen's influence has gone far beyond even his immediate circle. In fact, all the members of the family now play instruments. Ukulele was a favorite of Stephen's, and Rachel plays a whole host of instruments that were inspired from Stephen's love of music. Rachel said that she believes she was a better EMT, that she was able to communicate with people in distress and notice things that others might not. Emily spoke of her increased sensitivity to people in need, paying attention to those who others might ignore. They both loved to perform for him and said he was the best audience because he would always laugh. And of course, for so many of you here today, none of this is new, because you also watched Stephen grow up here at Tikvat Israel as such as an important part of this community. Michael mentioned how he would come to shul with Stephen, and Stephen would hold the Torah as it came out from the Ark on Simchat Torah for a Hakafa, and he always had that huge smile on his face when he was holding Torah. He loved coming to shul so much that if the family would drive down Baltimore Road and didn't stop here, then he would get upset. And he enjoyed the religious school program at the JCC, where Kate Jonas Cohen took a very special interest in him as one of his teachers. His family and friends have so many wonderful memories of their time with Stephen. Just telling stories about him brings huge smiles to each of their faces as they do. Even amidst this great sadness, they couldn't help but smile when talking about Stephen. Of course, it wasn't all fun, and it required a tremendous amount of time and energy and resources to provide for him. So what gave them the ability to keep going on? As the song says, sometimes I want to give up, want to give in, I want to quit the fight, and then I see you, baby, and everything's all right. When I see you smile, I can face the world. You know I can do anything when I see your smile. I see a ray of light. It was Stephen's smile which simply lit up a room and gave everyone that extra push they needed to keep going. And I believe that it will be the memory of that smile that will make a permanent imprint and help Michael and Karen and Rachel and Emily, his aunts and uncles and cousins, through the difficult days and months and years ahead. There's nothing that can prepare us for the death of a child. It simply is not the way things are supposed to be. But throughout Stephen's life, he taught us that we cannot think about the way things are supposed to be. We must live our lives according to the reality that is before us. And when we want to give up or give in or quit the fight, we need to remember to see that smile, to know that we can face the world, and that we can see that ray of light. May the memory of Stephen Cohen be a blessing for all who knew him. May his life continue to inspire the good deeds. And may he be at peace. In a few moments, we'll be reciting the El Malei Rachamim memorial prayer. Following that, we will ask for the pallbearers to come forward, and then we will follow along behind the family, behind Stephen and the coffin, the family, as we proceed outside and accompany him on this leg of his journey. This week, those who will be joining us for the burial will be going up to the Garden of Remembrance. And please make sure that you have a tag and that your lights are on. This evening and through Wednesday, the minyan will be at 8 o'clock each evening. We've made a slight change for Thursday, which is that Thursday evening's minyan will be at 7:30, joining together with the synagogue Zoom minyan for those who aren't able to be there in person and want to be able to still be able to participate and express their condolences. And then Saturday night at 8:15. The family asked for donations in Stephen's memory to be made to Tikvat Israel or St. Joseph's House, Potomac Community Resources, or Unified Community Connections, all organizations that were an important part of Stephen's life and helped provide support to the family. I'll ask that you please rise.
שוכן במרומים, המצא מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת שלמה חיים בן משה הכהן ורות, שהלך לעולמו בגן עדן תהי מנוחתו. אנא בעל הרחמים, הסתירהו בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, ותצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתו. אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר
Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure. To the soul of Shlomo Chaim ben Moshe HaKohen Berut, Stephen Cohen, who has gone to his eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May his soul be bound up in the bond of life. May he rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. The pallbearers.